Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we journey back thousands of years to a time when humanity completely reinvented itself. This wasn't just a small change. It was a seismic shift known as the Neolithic Revolution. Around 10,000 BCE, we stopped being nomadic hunter-gatherers and began to settle down, cultivate crops, and domesticate animals. This new, settled agrarian lifestyle changed everything, including the art we created. No longer bound by what we could carry, we started to think bigger, more permanent. We built villages, developed new beliefs, and began to express ourselves in ways never seen before, using stone, clay, and even the landscape itself as our canvas. Let's dive into the incredible art and symbolism of the New Stone Age. One of the most practical and profound inventions of this era was pottery. With permanent settlements came surplus grain and the need to store it, cook it, and keep water. Durable, fireproof containers became essential. But what started as a practical solution quickly became a sophisticated art form. Neolithic pottery was all handmade, without the potter's wheel. Artisans used techniques like coiling, where they stacked long, snake-like rolls of clay to build the walls of a pot, then smoothed them out. For smaller items, they'd simply pinch a ball of clay into shape. The decorations on this pottery were far from random. They were intricate designs that held deep symbolic meaning about community, rituals, and cosmology. In Central Europe, the linear pottery culture, or LBK, was known for incised lines forming chevrons and spirals. In the Mediterranean, potters created cardial pottery, pressing the edge of a cockle shell into wet clay to make unique patterns. But for some of the most stunning work, we look to the Göbekli Tepe culture in modern-day Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine. They produced incredibly elaborate pottery, painted with complex, swirling patterns in black, red, and white. These dynamic designs are thought to represent the cycles of nature, fertility, or even an early form of symbolic writing. They made everything from simple bowls to bizarre binocular-shaped vessels likely used in rituals. A common symbol found across cultures, from the Danube Valley to the Near East, is the spiral. It's widely interpreted as representing the endless cycles of life, death, and rebirth, a concept deeply tied to the agricultural rhythms of planting and harvesting. These pots weren't just for storage. They were central to social life, used in communal feasts that forged community bonds. Richly decorated vessels were also placed in graves, suggesting a belief in an afterlife and the importance of these objects in connecting the living with the spirit world. Beyond clay pots, the settled life of the Neolithic period also saw a boom in sculpture. Artists could now create larger pieces from clay, stone, and bone that were meant to be portable. One of the most iconic and debated forms of Neolithic sculpture is the so-called Venus figurine. These are stylized female figures, usually with exaggerated breasts, hips, and stomachs. A famous example is the seated woman of Atal YK from modern-day Turkey. Discovered in a grain bin, she sits on a throne flanked by two felines. Many interpret her as a mother goddess or a protector of the harvest, symbolizing the fertility that was so crucial to these early agricultural societies. The Göbekli Tepe culture also produced thousands of these female statuettes, believed to embody fertility and femininity. While the fertility goddess theory is popular, it's not the only one. These figurines could have been used in healing rituals, as teaching aids, or even as self-portraits. Their true meaning remains a mystery, but their widespread presence highlights the central role of the female form in the Neolithic symbolic world. Animals also featured prominently in sculpture, but they were more stylized than the naturalistic cave paintings of the earlier Paleolithic era. At the famous site of Atal YK, the horns and skulls of bulls were actually built into the architecture of the houses, plastered and painted, thrusting out into the living space. This suggests a powerful spiritual significance. Interestingly, the art at Atal YK is dominated by wild animals, especially bulls, even though the people there also kept domesticated ones. This hints at a complex relationship with the wild, untamed natural world. At other sites, clay animal figurines were found that may have served magical purposes. In Ain Ghazal in Jordan, cattle figurines were ritually slaughtered by having flint blades pushed into them before the clay dried, possibly as part of a ritual to ensure the health of their real herds. Perhaps the most haunting and personal art from this period are the plastered skulls of Jericho, dating to around 7000 BCE. People were often buried under the floors of their homes. In some cases, the skull was later removed, and the facial features were reconstructed with plaster, using shells for eyes and paint for hair. The results are strikingly lifelike portraits, each one unique. It's believed this was a form of ancestor worship, a way to keep the memory and spirit of revered family members alive in the home. They are considered some of the very first examples of portraiture in human history. The settlement of Ain Ghazal also gifted us another incredible form of sculpture, nearly life-sized human figures made of plaster over a core of reeds. Dating to the 7th millennium BCE, these are among the earliest monumental sculptures ever found. They have flat bodies, disproportionate heads, and large, wide-open eyes outlined with bitumen, giving them an otherworldly stare. Found carefully buried in pits, they too are often interpreted as representations of ancestors. Creating these large, fragile statues required immense skill and communal effort, signaling their importance to the community. Now, we move from art you can hold to art you can walk inside. The Neolithic period witnessed the dawn of megalithic architecture, monumental structures built using massive stones. These required incredible organization and a shared belief system. Let's start with a site that has completely rewritten the history books, Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey. Dating to around 9600 BCE, it's arguably the world's oldest temple, built by people who were still hunter-gatherers before the invention of pottery or widespread agriculture. The site consists of massive, T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing several tons, arranged in circles. The pillars are covered with intricate carvings of animals, foxes, snakes, wild boars, and vultures. These T-shaped pillars are thought to be stylized human figures, perhaps representing gods or ancestors. Göbekli Tepe was clearly a place of immense ritual importance, a center where different groups gathered. Some researchers even propose that the carvings are a sophisticated astronomical chart, possibly recording a comet strike that triggered a mini ice age and spurred the development of agriculture. This site challenges the idea that complex religion and monumental building only came after farming. Instead, it suggests the drive to create these sacred spaces may have been a catalyst for the Neolithic Revolution itself. Next, we travel to Ireland's Boyne Valley, to the passage tomb of Newgrange, built around 3200 BCE. It predates both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids. Newgrange is a massive circular mound of earth and stone, with a long passage leading to a cross-shaped chamber inside. What makes Newgrange extraordinary is its precise solar alignment. Above the entrance is a small opening called a roof box. For just a few days around the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the rising sun shines directly through this box, sending a narrow beam of light down the 19-meter passage to illuminate the inner chamber for about 17 minutes. This is a breathtaking feat of engineering and astronomy. The symbolism is powerful. On the darkest day of the year, the sun penetrates the heart of the tomb, the realm of the ancestors. It symbolizes the victory of light over darkness, the promise of the sun's return, and the renewal of life. And of course, no discussion of megalithic architecture is complete without Stonehenge. Built on England's Salisbury Plain, over a period of 500 years, it's a masterpiece of prehistoric engineering. The builders quarried and transported enormous sarsen stones and smaller bluestones over vast distances, a task requiring the coordinated effort of hundreds of people. Its purpose has been long debated. We know it was a place of burial from its very beginning, a monument to honor the ancestors. But it's also a precise astronomical observatory. The main axis aligns perfectly with the sunrise on the summer solstice and the sunset on the winter solstice. This allowed its builders to track the seasons, crucial knowledge for a farming society. Stonehenge was likely a combination of things: a temple, a cemetery, and a celestial calendar, a sacred space that brought the community together to connect with the cosmos. Finally, let's look at a site that offers a window not into the cosmos, but into daily life. On the Orkney Islands of Scotland lies Skara Brae, a beautifully preserved Neolithic village. Occupied from around 3180 BCE, it's called the Scottish Pompeii because of its incredible state of preservation. The village consists of stone houses linked by covered passageways. Inside, the homes are surprisingly sophisticated, with built-in stone furniture, including beds, dressers, and storage boxes. The people here were farmers and herders. The art is more subtle, incised geometric patterns carved into the stones of the houses and on their distinctive grooved-ware pottery. Skara Brae shows us that Neolithic art wasn't just for grand rituals. It was woven into the fabric of domestic life, shaping the very spaces where people lived and worked. The art of the Neolithic period marks a profound shift in human consciousness. As people put down roots, their art became an art of place. A clay pot was both a cooking vessel and a canvas for cosmic beliefs. A stone structure was both a tomb and a celestial clock. This legacy is all around us, in our pottery, our fascination with the human form, and our creation of monumental architecture. The artists of the New Stone Age, working at the dawn of a new era, were the first to truly shape their world, leaving an indelible record of their beliefs, their journey, and their humanity.